Hi, good evening, beautiful people. Good evening, everyone. I believe we are doing so well. Today is a very good day. Thank you for joining us today again at Mindshift section. It was a very beautiful section last week, and we are here again today to rub minds together, to have a mind shift, and to become the better version of ourselves. Thank you for joining us. I believe people are already here by now. You know, we talked about people joining us just immediately 8 p.m. It's it's amazing to have us, seated and are waiting. All right. So I want to really welcome you, and I want to also know how your day went. So please kindly put in the comment section your name and where you're joining us from, and help us to welcome you properly, because I want to be calling out your name. I want to be calling out your name. I want to know where you're watching us from and how you are doing. All right. Last week we had a very beautiful section. Our MD spoke to us extensively on how to become a better version of ourselves. And today we are going to be having that. Okay, let me see if someone is already here. If you're here already, please kindly write in the comment section your name and where you're joining us from. All right. And while I'm waiting for that comment, I also want to know what you learned from last week's section. Please, is if it is possible, just put in what you remember and what you applied. Not just what you remember, what you applied, because I know that applied knowledge is power. All right, applied knowledge is power. All right. Today we are going to be running. We are not going to be waiting so long for comments and for other things, because our MD is super duper ready. All right, please, wherever you are, just with a clapping ovation, with a shouting ovation, just use emoji ovation. Anyone, just make welcome our able MD to this wonderful place, because he is super. Okay, just in the comment section. Thank you.
Hi, hi,
Welcome, sir.
Chacha. Good evening. How are you doing
Good
today?
evening, sir. I'm doing very great. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, good. Good evening. And how are we? I believe we are grateful. Yeah, good evening, everyone. It's beautiful to be here. Um, and last week we looked at some very important concepts, and I would like us to run it through. My energy and your energy may not be the same because our time zones are not the same. But in we'll have to move along. And I believe we learned some things last week. And last week, I will just want to do a very quick recap. And we may not spend up to 1 hour. But the main thing is if we pick something, we can run with it, right? So last week we talked about how to become how do top performers become top performers, right? And now there is one thing we now listed the things that can make people become top performers, right? And that there is one attribute of every top performer. And if that is the case, that there is one attribute of every top performer, it means that I can become a top performer, you can become a top performer, anybody can become a top performer. So please, what I always say, and one of the things we also looked at last week, is that wealth must always be created in community. So please remember to share the link 10 times, remember to tag some persons and let them know that the training is on, because that is one way you can save yourself. Because if there's a lot of light shining around about you, you are sure that in the days of adversity, your light will be shining, because there will be multitudes of people that will be willing to relight your light. But if you're alone, you would only make money, you will not create wealth. And when the days of adversity, money will finish. But in the days of adversity, if you have built a community, wealth will stand tall, because wealth can only be built in community. Today we want to look at how do top salespeople turn objection? How do top performers turn objections into opportunity? Right? How do top performers, excuse me, please, how do top performers turn objections into opportunities. How? Now, because everybody's having challenges, right? And remember, there's this story I always like to share of how did somebody become, you see someone that is drinking, two sons born to a particular man, and one of the twin, assuming that twin, one can say, one is a drunk. Why? He saw his father drinking. Then you ask the other one, he has never tasted beer in his life. You ask him why. He say, yes, my father was a drunk. And because my father was a drunk, I swore never to drink, right? So both of them had resistance, but depending on what is their interpretation, that tells you that perception is reality, and perception is how you interpret things, right? That tells you how you interpret, meaning that if there are no accurate reasons or inaccurate reasons, it's just what you tell them that makes them accurate or inaccurate, right? It's what you term them that makes things accurate or inaccurate. So whatever you say things are really is not what is what they are to you, but it's not what they are to another. So you must be able to keep looking at your perception in a way that you can greatly modify it. So today we're looking at turning objections into opportunities. Why is everybody that becomes a top performer, despite the industry, despite whatever is the roadblock, despite whatever it is, that person must witness objections, and there must be resistance, there must be stumbling blocks. But your ability to arrange those blocks, right, and make them steps. So when you listen to the story of every successful man, you would always see that he was able to turn the objections into opportunity. So your ability to turn objections, your ability to turn those resistance to, you hear things like the resistance is the way, right? You hear things like turning that when they throw stones, you use it to create the path. It was the problems that Joseph witnessed that brought him to the top. Now, when you talk about business mafians and industrial icons and captains of industries that have been around for 2, 3 decades, there's one thing you will see. In the midst of their cry lies the victory that they seek, that they now enjoy. So what I'm trying to say is that those objections are constant, but your ability to know that these objections, these things that look like resistance, these things that look that is blocking me from my goal, is in that one is where the opportunity lies for expansion. Does somebody get it? So what we're discussing today is turning objections into opportunity. So why this is important, and important is for you to get your pen and paper. But we're not going to spend much time here, and but we're going to be able to go around it in a way that makes it easy. So while we're doing that, remember to share the link so that we have a lot of persons that are able to cash in on this and learn from it, because you may see it from an angle and they can see it from another angle. And in that way, you have a variety of understanding when you sit down to discuss it. Now you see, so now, so what are the common objections that people have that makes them not to buy? Remember, buying is not always about product. Buying is basically about ideas. Buying is basically about acceptance, right? Buying usually about access. That's why you hear things like buying in negotiation. Buy in. You want the person to see your point of view, right? So now, how can you master, as simple as it is, there are when you are to sell a product, just as slang, right? When you're trying to sell a product, and there are five main objections you normally hear. One of them is, okay, like I don't have money, right? The client can say, I don't have money for this now. And then the client can say, let me think about it. He can also say things like, I don't trust land sellers. He can also say things like the location is far. He can also say things like, what if government comes tomorrow for the land? Now, I think that the majority of the objections that we have about our product when merchandising our product is based on these five objections. One, again, I don't have money now. Two, let me think about it. I don't have trust land sellers. I don't trust realtors. The location is far. I don't trust agents. What if the government takes the land? Now, but one thing you should always know is that in every conversation, every objection means that the client is still very much interested in the sale. Yes, he's very much interested in the sale. When he's no longer interested, he goes silent. Now, so if you have been selling to someone and he's always buying, you tell him about this product, he will ask you about it. He's interested. That's why he's asking. The time you send him a product and he has something very, very important that he's pursuing, or maybe tomorrow is his mother's, tomorrow is his wedding, and you send him a preview of your proposition, of what you are offering, of the value you are offering, and tomorrow is his wedding. He's likely not to respond to you. He's likely not to ask you how much. He's likely not to tell you. He's likely not to tell you I don't have money for this. He's likely not to tell you the place is far. Right? He will just keep silent on you. So always know that objection is a proof that the client is interested in the product. Now, how do I say this? Sales journey. Objection means that the client is still in the conversation. He may not be interested, but he is still in that conversation. And if he's in the conversation, if somebody is in a room, you can drag the person closer. So he's still in the sales conversation. You get it? He's still in the sales conversation. You can bring the person closer. Now, when the person is silent, it's as if the person is outside the room. We get it. So the real danger is silence. Now, how do we monitor these five questions of I don't have it, this and that? And there is a formula I know, and it's feel. Yes, 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 yes. Few felt found. Yes, few felt found. Few felt found melt. You feel it, you and then you will feel it, and then it will be felt, and then you'll find it. So what I'm trying to say is, like, someone comes and say, oh, courtyard is 4 million, and you say, and the client says, number one of the questions is that I don't have money. Now that is the objection, right? Then how do you use the feel felt? I can say something like, I understand how you feel, but others have felt the same way. Other people I told about this property, I understand how you feel that you don't have money, but others have felt the same way. But they found a way when they saw the land, because they knew what the value of the land, of what the land can become in 3 years. They know when the government is done with this road, they know what it can become. So, do you get it? Someone says, I'm using the number one as example. I don't have money, example, the objection. And remember, we say seeing objection as the stepping stone. Seeing objection. When you hear the adage that the things they threw at him, he used it to build block. That is it. Then they throw to you. The client throws to you, I don't have money now. And then you tell him, I understand how you feel now. I understand how the market is. Others have felt the same way. Remember, few felt that they didn't have money. But somehow, when they saw this property and what the property could do for them, they found a way to generate the money, because they knew that they're buying it at a ridiculous discount of what it can be tomorrow. Does somebody, if you understand this concept, I want to be sure we're understanding it, right? Yeah, right. So welcome everybody, Victoria, Chris, Pascaline, Onyebuchi. It's nice to be here, and I hope we are being able to get the cream of the point, right? So the goal is to turn objections into opportunities, to turn the stones that are thrown at you, to turn the things that are meant to make you not to go forward. Let them be the steps that accelerate your moving from A to B. Right? True. Does somebody understand the few felt and found method? If you understand the example, please type yes, I understand the few felt method, or you just type few felt found method. Please, I want to make sure we're following, right? Because I want to go into what we call, and the other one where we call turning objections into question, right? Turning objections into questions. Turning objections. I didn't just say we should say, yeah, I want to be sure that we get it, right? Yes, it's easy. But what I want to know, did you get the feel, felt, and found? I understand how you feel about your economic position currently. I understand how you feel that you don't have money now. Others have felt the same way. But when they saw this property, they found a way to create, to make available the money that they wish to buy it because of what it can do for them. Because you must end with the value that you are proposing. Remember, people don't buy what you sell. Sorry. How do I say that? People don't buy what you sell. People buy what they are buying. I want to repeat that again. People don't buy what you sell. People buy what they're buying. So when you understand what people are buying, you will be able to tweak what you are selling. Some people strive selling the things that people, I said this last week, selling the things that they are selling that is not what people are buying. You get it? So the next one is okay. Thank you so much. I'm sure that some of us are getting it right now. One of the things we're flowing is turning objections into question. Those objections. Remember, we talked about the five major objections that we have in sales, which are I don't have money now. Let me think about it. I don't trust real estate land sellers. I don't trust realtors. I don't trust real estate companies. Are you selling receipts? The location of the land is too far. What if government takes the land? These are the five major objections, right? Five major objections. So now we want to turn this objection into question. We have tried the feel, felt, found method, right? I understand how you feel. Others have felt that same way. He will be happy. Then, but others found a way. Then he will find a way. Turn objections into questions. Don't shut it down. Don't shut the question down. The person says, oh, this place is too far. Don't shut that question down. Don't say, no, you don't know what you're saying. Once you don't argue with the person that has the capacity to pay you, always remember that. And the client is at every point in time is the boss. He determines the food you eat, he determines the clothes you wear, he determines how you send the school you will go, or the school you will send your kids. So you don't argue with the person that has the capacity to pay you. The Bible says, beyond every contradiction, the less is helped of the better. Right? So invariably, because without sales, the product and the production wheels will not work. Always remember, the production wheels will not work. You have a product, but it has not been sold. So you must never argue with a client. Whether if you argue with everybody, you argue with your father, you argue with your mother, you argue with your wife, you argue with your husband, argue with your kids. Once it has to do with a client, you don't argue with them. You can disagree, but you must agree. This is yes, sir. This place is far. Yes, I am aware it's far. So that is why you can turn it into questions. It's far from where? Yes. Is it far from your father's house? Because I know that where I am is far from where most people on this call are. But does that mean that that there are no investments happening here? So it's far from where exactly, right? Is it far from economic freedom? Now, I don't know whether if we get this. So now, don't shut them down. So you can start with, apart from that this place is far, is there any other thing holding you back? So you will see the whole objections. Oh, apart from that, you don't have money. Is there any other thing holding you back why you're not buying this project? Yes, apart from you don't have money, then the person may say, oh, even if I had money, I wouldn't have bought the place. You see it? Then you ask him, okay, why? Because you are turning the objection into question. Remember, the goal is to turn the stones that are thrown into steps that will take us to where we are going. Because we remember where what led us here. Last week we talked that all top performers think in a certain way. And one of the things that is characteristics of top performers is what we are treating today. And one of them is that they turn objections into opportunity. Those things that people thought would kill them was what made them better. Right? So always remember that there is a value proposition in what we are dishing out. And what is the value proposition? That okay, example now we talked about, apart from this objection, apart from that this place is far, what other thing is holding you back? Right? So now if someone says a place is far, you already know that a land being far is how do I say it? Is relative, is relativism. Yes, it's relativism. No place is really far. Is far from where exactly? Because when I say that Lagos is far from Abuja, yes, I'm correct. It's a lot of kilometers apart, but you will not tell me that there are no investments in Lagos. So, but if somebody comes from Calabar and his home is in Calabar, so he's saying, or he says it's far from development, right? So he says, okay, one that is clear that someone can tell you, and you are how do I say? You say, oh, it's far from the city. Good, it's far from the city. What happens to the city? So I was yesterday in a meeting and we were discussing something and I was laughing. It was a group of real estate developers in Nairobi, right? And the man has done close to maybe 12 high-rise projects, right, with his partners. And they do a lot of high-rise, 12 stories, that even 30 stories, right? And he was talking about how the city is moving, how this is the place the city is moving, how this place used to be the old city, right? And then remember that some persons saw opportunity where the city started moving more than 10 years ago and felt that no, this is not the city. And because he was trying to say that you cannot put high rise in the old city. That was the context of the conversation. And one of the partners we came with from Nigeria was telling him, oh, let's do this project in the center of the city. He said, no, we watch the center of the city. People are moving out of here. They're moving into this new layout that is upcoming. And that tells you that every city must evolve. Now, we have known that in Nigeria. We have seen it in every city. So when someone says somewhere is far from development, let it be that he's saying that it's far from where the government where development is going. Let it not be that he's saying that it's far from his father's house. Let it not be that he's saying it's far from how do I say it? It's far from the place that he considers the city now. Is he far from the city of the future? Is he far from the city of 5 years? Is he far from the city of 10 years? Is it that? That should be the question. Do you get that? So what you ask is, apart from that the city is far, right? What other thing is holding you back? You deal with those other things before you come back to the one that he has admitted that is holding you back. Because every objection, when the product is the right suit or the right fit for the client, for instance, a client is with he's 30, right? Because investment has to do with age. He's 30 to 45, or yeah, I can say 30 to 45 based in Nigeria, or 18 to 45, and he has 100 million to invest. And then he goes out to go and invest in a product, a property, and he's not looking for cash flow. He's looking for capital gain. He's looking for how do I maximize this money in 10, 20 years, and he goes and buys one piece of property for 100 million. You know that he has not maximized the money. You get it? He has not maximized it. By the time he's 60, the land he bought for 100 million might be, maybe if it was 45 when he bought it, 15 years later, might be 400, maybe 500, right? Maybe 600. But if you went and bought lands of 5 million in 15 years' time, your guess is as good as mine. And then there's a road that have come there. There is a third road. There is government presence that have pushed to that side. My man, it's 15 years, right? The city will expand. More people will come in and it will expand. And you know what happened? His 5 million per plot can be going for 50 million per plot. So that is 10x. So where his 50 million was, where his 100 million was supposed to turn to like 1 billion, and it's turning into what is it called? 500. So he has lost half of that in maximizing it. So what I'm saying it is always know, turn objections into question. Another thing is what we call for you to be able to turn objections into question, for you to be able to even recognize objections, right? Even to recognize objections, even to be able to portray the few felt found method. One thing is constant: you must role play, you must practice. So now, how many times do you role play? Are you trying to role play this method? So you are not talking face to face to a client, you're talking to your person and you're trying to role play this method. So that's one way. And I don't know if we get this. I've shared two concepts. Then I'm sharing the third one. And the third one is role playing. You role play your way to understanding the feel felt method. You role play it. So maybe if you understand the concept of the class, next time when we're doing training in class and we ask for donors, people that will easily come out to do their role playing, be one of them. When you are with your peers, when you are with your friends, because it's when you practice this that it will make sense. You cannot listen to it, keep listening to it, hear it and rehear it, and when you are face to face with a client, you do it. No, it's not going to work. So you have to find a way to role play it. Does this make sense? Does this make sense, guys? So remember, turn objections into questions. That objection, turn it into a question, and then close with the value reminder. Always go back to security, to the foundation of what you're of what you're presenting. And what is that? Security, future wealth, and belonging. That is the foundation of generational wealth, right? The foundation of generational wealth. That is the main crux of the matter. So I would like to leave us here so that we can rest, and it's quite in the middle of the night down here. So let's remember what we've said. First of all, we talked about how to turning objections into sales opportunities. We talked about the feel, felt, found method, right? And from there, we talked about turn objections into questions. Turn those objections into questions. So you uncover the whole objections, you treat them before you come back to treat the other one. So, in that being said, I would like Mike to take over from here, and we'll proceed to call it a day. Okay, and please let's remember, if we learn and we don't imply and we don't apply, we have wasted the day. But if we learn and we apply, we'll be able to make life better. And we remember we said role playing. Role playing, it helps you address objection easily. So please, Mike, can you come and take over the class so that we can call it a beautiful day? And I want to remind us that Friday we'll have physical training, and from there we'll draw magic. And I know we still have an ongoing challenge, which is we still have an ongoing challenge, which is who is going to do 50 million this month from, we said, from last month, and close up at 50 million. And as long as you have an international passport, you're going to have a recreation at a point of your choice. And hopefully, we're looking at Dubai. So, and that will be in the first week of October. So let's remember, because we know that traveling is an investment, is not, um, what do we call it? It's not an expense, it's an investment into your future self. So please, it's quite into the night. And Mike, I'm using style to wait for you so that I can really log off and thank our people. So, welcome, Charity. Good night,
Thank
everyone, and let's
you.
have a beautiful day. And let's
Thank
remember,
you,
if we
sir.
learn more, we will do more. Thank you, everyone. Chacha,
Thank
please
you,
over
sir.
to you. Have a beautiful.
It was quite an amazing section, very short and so impactful. I believe all of us will learn something new. We learn something new, turning objections into questions and turning objections into stepping stones. Thank you so much, sir, for this amazing section. Please put down what you learned in the comment section. And also, if you've not liked our video, please can you give us a thumbs up? And if you've not subscribed to this channel, please kindly subscribe to this channel. It is going to bring more value to your table. And also click on that notification button down there so that you'll be notified each time we come online. All right. You've heard all the announcements. Get yourself ready and then make your sales worth of 50 million and you will be en route to Dubai by October 1st. All right. That's a very beautiful one. Please kindly remember that our physical training happens every Friday at our office, Justimi Plaza, opposite Government House, Anwine Road, Asaba. Please be part of what we are doing and also make sure that you drag someone. Don't just come alone. Bring someone to learn because wealth is built in community. Thank you so much for being part of what we are doing at Latera. At Latera, we are building a community of wealthy people, and I'm glad that you're part of us. Do have a good day. Same time, same station. Same time, same station. By next week, Tuesday, we're having another Mindshift section and be part of it. Thank you and God bless. Do have a good night rest, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the night. Bye.